Kristin, talk us through what you think ultimately the investor viewpoint is at the moment.
Oh, this is so complicated. Thank you for having me today. This is the most complicated CEO for investors to deal with, and yet it really doesn't need to be. We all are completely appalled by his statement, and we're really calling on the board to take some action. If you think about what Tesla's assets are, it's that brand, and it's also its people. So we really count on Tesla to be innovative, and we really need them to be able to attract, recruit, hire, and retain top talent. And of course, a statement like this is going to inhibit all of those.
Kristin, Elon Musk has said in the past and consistently he is absolutely pro-free speech. And he's also said on more than one occasion he's against anti-Semitism of any kind.
That's right.
You hold a small volume of shares. My understanding is that that is basically just a function of being a social impact investor. There will be parts of our audience that say, why is Kristin on? She holds hardly any stock.
Well, so we actually held Tesla for many years in our core portfolios. We really were behind that battery play. And of course, the infrastructure across many of the products and services that Tesla is bringing for a just and innovative transition to a sustainable economy. So that thesis was really important to us, and we did hold Tesla in our core portfolios. And yet, when it became really apparent that there was racial discrimination within the plants and across the firm, we became really cautious, and there was lots of risk for us as an investor, and we pulled out. We did retain some shares, a small amount of shares, as you point out, so that we could keep our responsibility as investors to engage with this firm and to call them on what in their own code of ethics says to do the right thing. So Elon Musk is actually in violation of his own code of ethics right now, and that's why we're calling on the board.
Kristin, thank you for that explanation. I just think the audience wanted to understand the mechanics of how your firm is operating. The emphasis is on the absolute truth statement or post that he made. He made a follow-up post, which I'm going to bring up on the screen for our audience, where he says the ADL unjustly attacks the majority of the West, despite the majority of the West supporting the Jewish people and Israel. This is because they cannot, by their own tenets, criticize the minority groups who are their primary threat. It is not right and needs to stop. What do you think Elon Musk was trying to say in that post?
No, Elon Musk has been erratic. He's been volatile with his speech. We never actually know what he's trying to do. And while he is saying he's promoting free speech, hateful speech and hate speech has no place on X, and it certainly doesn't have any place coming from a major CEO in our nation.
It's interesting that certain key founders, leaders, one who actually co-founded now Meta, has called on perhaps roles within other companies that Elon Musk holds. Of course, he's not just the leader of Tesla, but he also is the owner and CTO of X, the platform with which he's currently putting out these views. And indeed, one particular key founder saying, Linda Yaccarino, your turn to actually potentially even fire your own CTO. Linda herself has been trying to point out that X's view has always been very clear that discrimination by everyone should stop across the board. What would you want to see for Elon, whether he be CTO, chair of X, whether it be CEO of Tesla, whether it be his roles at the many other companies that he has? Are you calling for him to step down?
So that isn't my place to call for that. I do want to see the board stepping in and taking action. And whether that means, taking his cell phone away, that's one possibility. But what we really need to see is leadership. And we want to see him not only protecting his brand, but growing it in a sustainable and inclusive way. Again, we want to see employees, both current and future, feel not only really comfortable, but excited to join this and bring their top talent and expert and skills. And then also on the consumer side, there are so many consumers right now saying they're getting rid of their Tesla, and they're certainly not considering purchasing anything new. And so with a prime business model at Tesla, at any rate, we need to see as an investor that CEO is really looking out for the business model, and that brand has so much to do. So I personally would like to see him step down. Whether that's possible, that's really up to the board.
Kristin, it's been interesting because this hasn't happened in a vacuum. In fact, we have seen him put out very controversial posts before, some which he has indeed retracted, and he's gone on to say he's for and pro-free speech, but against anti-Semitism in all its forms. But he's almost been a bit like Teflon. Nothing has stuck, and Tesla, nevertheless, is up 90% year-to-date in terms of a share price, and people thus far perhaps haven't been pulling back on their Tesla purchases. It's been deemed more of a consumer weakness story than it has actually a pushback against Elon Musk. Can you really sort of drive that narrative together? Do you think this is the moment that we see a tipping point?
You know, it's going to be interesting to see what we see as a tipping point, because with a regular company, an ordinary company without one of the richest billionaire CEOs, we would have seen other consequences much earlier. Elon Musk is an icon in the U.S. and across the world, and he seems to be treated differently, both by his board and by his fan base. And that's problematic, I believe, for the kind of companies and the kind of corporations that we want to see grow in the U.S.
We reiterate that Tesla has rebounded to positive territory, having been down as much as 3% in the session. Over a two-day basis, of course, it's lower, but on the week, I think on track for a pretty sizable gain. There are many that took to X in support of Elon Musk who are both Tesla shareholders and vehicle owners. But there's one name that seems aligned with you, and that is Ross Gerber, a Tesla investor who says his clients, he's an asset manager, his clients are asking him to unwind their positions. They will no longer buy Tesla cars. My understanding is that you are doing a new initiative where you'll write to the board of Tesla in the coming week. Have you spoken to Ross, and who are you trying to bring in on the initiative that you're taking?
Actually, that's really interesting. So we haven't spoken to Ross yet. I welcome that. Maybe he's available for a phone call this afternoon. That would be great. We are part of a coalition with Whistle Stop Capital and many others who have written to the board, and we did that actually earlier this year. We put out a statement and a letter speaking about lots of different issues that we want to see the board take up. And sadly, we have not had a response. And so we've been meeting as a group monthly to figure out how we can be engaged to really support this company to be its best. And we will resend that letter with a new cover letter with the additional grievances that have occurred since we sent the original letter. And that should go out in the next couple of weeks.